QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021 Bank Reconciliation Month Number 1 Reports. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Here we are in the Get Great Guitars homepage. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by going to the View dropdown, selecting the Open Windows list. We're now going to be taking a look at the reports that were generated after we create the bank reconciliation. So to do that, let's first take a look at the report for the balance sheet and open up our documents. So we're going to be going to the Reports dropdown. We're going to go to the Company and Financial, down to the Balance Sheet Standard, changing the dates up top for the first month of operations. That's going to be 01/01/21 to 12/31/21, not 12/31 to 01/31/21, January 1st to the 31st of January, and then OK. We're concentrating here, of course, on the cash. We also have our bank statement. So here's the bank statement we used to complete the bank reconciliation. And then note that we did the bank reconciliation, the process of reconciling. That was when we went to the banking dropdown and we went to reconcile and we went through this process. And then we completed the bank reconciliation last time. So it's already done for January. Now we want to look at the report. So we did the process of reconciling. Now let's look at the report. Now, we generated the report last time once we're done with the bank rec. I highly recommend saving it right after that point because, again, QuickBooks, it's a little bit more difficult to go back to prior bank recs. So you want to basically have them on hand, print them out so you have the hard copy of them at the point in time that you have completed them. So let's take a look at that. But you can go back in there and look at the reports to some degree, the prior reports. So let's go to the Reports dropdown. We're going to go to the banking reports, and then I want to look at the previous reconciliation. So we're looking for the previous reconciliation. So we can see we're in the checking account. That's the only cash account that we have. So we're going to pick that one up. You can pick the detail or the summary. The detail is really the one you have to have. The summary is nice to look at, but the summary data doesn't give you the detail of the actual checks that are involved. So it doesn't really give you what you need. So you could say both here, and then I'm going to say display. So I'm going to display those, and notice it's going to pull up a little bit differently than what we are used to. It's going to pull back up in like a PDF type of format, which is a little bit different format than we're used to. So this is going to be the summary report. So we're looking at the summary report here. I'm going to zoom into it. And so notice again, it's in like a PDF type of format. It looks a little bit different than if I was to go on over here to the balance sheet report, which has a little bit different look and feel to it. So just realize that. We're going to go back to the summary report. Let's analyze this thing. This thing's a little bit confusing to take a look at because it does include data that would be more data than you would expect in a normal bank reconciliation. In other words, this area right here, from the cleared area down to here, this is basically the bank reconciliation. The stuff up top isn't really the bank reconciliation. That's kind of added information that's going to be provided here. The stuff down below, again, not really part of the bank reconciliation. The stuff in the middle, that's what we're looking for. But let's read it basically from top to bottom. So notice we have the beginning balance of the $25,000. Now, we're going to highlight some of the issues we had with this first bank reconciliation, which are common kind of things that we have, which include the fact that that $25,000 you would think would be $30,000, right? It's $25,000. You would think it would be $30,000. Why isn't it the $30,000? Because we have these issues with those outstanding checks in the prior system that cleared in the current system, and we did that basically a little workaround in order to adjust that. So in the second bank reconciliation, this one will be correct, and we would probably want to put a little note once we print this out on the first bank reconciliation showing that fact, saying, hey, look, that $25,000 includes 2 checks that had cleared in the current month, which had been written in the prior month, and we adjusted for that, and then we can list out the items that were adjustments for that, and we could see them in the more detailed report that we'll see on the detailed bank reconciliation we'll see shortly. And then it's got the adjustments that happened, and then the cleared balance. So normally this whole breakout is basically just a recap of what's on the bank statement, which we already have. This is the bank statement. Now it's a little bit different for the first month, so it's kind of nice we have that information for the first month because of that issue with the beginning balance. But the ending balance gets to that $89,335, which is the same $89,335 here. So this is the bank balance. What we really want to know then is the difference between the bank balance and our balance, which is the $103.50, which is on our balance sheet. So if I look at our balance sheet over here, this is what our books say, $103.50 as of January 31st, 2021. The question is, how is that different than what's on the bank statement? And I want to see exactly what that difference is, because if I know exactly what that difference is down to the penny, then I can be assured that all other transactions are basically correct, because we've reconciled it as of that point in time. That's what the goal is. So if I go back to the summary report, it's telling us what those differences are. There's 5 outstanding payments or decreases, and there's 1 deposit that's going to be outstanding, and that's the difference. And so it tells us exactly what that difference is. Now, the problem with the summary report is that it doesn't give us the detail. It tells us, yeah, there's 5 things. Well, what are those 5 things? Because like if I'm an auditor, I want to know exactly which checks have not been cleared. So the fact that they just tell me, well, it consists of 5 checks isn't enough detail. So that's why we need the detailed bank reconciliation. So if you save just one reconciliation summary, you want the detail, but the summary is easier to just get an idea about. And so that's going to be the summary. And then these are going to be the new transactions. And again, this isn't really part of the bank reconciliation. These are just transactions that are happening after this point in time. Meaning, if I was to go to the account here for the balance sheet and change it to the end of the year, 12/31/21, we're at 109.2488. If I go back to the summary data, 109.2488. So that tells us what happens after the point in time that we're concentrating in on. That's not really helpful to us because we really only care as of this point in time, right? So I'm going to change the balance sheet back to 01/31/21. So there we have the 103. So there we have it. So that's going to be the summary report. Again, we really need the detailed report, although it's really a longer report to look at. It has a lot of information that we don't really need, but it has the detail that we really do need, which is the breakout of these 5 checks. So now let's consider the detailed report. And so I'm going to make this a little bit larger. So we got the same kind of thing, but now it's just giving us the detail. So we have the 25,000, which is basically wrong. But we can kind of mark off, like it would be nice to print this out on your first report and just basically say, hey, look, why doesn't that 25 tie out? Really, that 30,000 is consisting of that 25,000 and this added 5,000 that we put in place, making it the 30,000. So you can kind of note that in your first bank reconciliation. And why did we need to do that? Because these 2 items that cleared were actually written in the prior accounting system, and these are the 2 dates that we had to add. So notice these are before the cutoff, before we started entering data into the current accounting system, and they cleared the bank in the current time period. So it cleared in the current time period. So you probably want to note that with your first bank reconciliation. And then once you go forward from this point in time, you won't have to deal with that. That whole problem will be gone, and you'll be good to go, and the bank reconciliation will be a lot easier going forward. So then we get down here to the cleared balance. So we had the cleared balance. So once again, this ties out to the 89,335, which is on the bank statement. And then we have the items that had not cleared. So here are the items listed out. So here are those 5 items we saw on the summary balance, on the summary bank reconciliation. But now they're broken out. So I can see what those actual checks are, who they were written to. And then this is what if you're giving this to an auditor or something, this is what they're going to want to see. And if you're reviewing the bank reconciliation, this is what you want to see as well, because you want to say, hey, do I need to do anything about those items? Well, you can then go to your bank and see if they cleared in February. If they did, then they're doing what we would expect, no problem. But we want to be able to reconcile for them so that if we know exactly what the difference is, then we can reconcile and we're confident about all the other data. So we're not just checking in on these 5 things. We're checking in on all the data by reconciling exactly and knowing exactly what the difference is, which verifies not only these 5 things, but everything. So then we're going to go down to the deposit. Here's the 1 deposit, the actual deposit. Now, once again, this one was one that you would think would have cleared by this point. So we'd be concerned about that. I would certainly go to the bank and say, hey, why didn't this clear? Because I deposited it on the 23rd. If it cleared in February, great. Maybe we entered the date on the deposit a little bit wrong here or something like that. So we would definitely want to, double check and make sure that it cleared. But again, the fact that it's outstanding in general is not going to be unusual. And then that's going to give us our register balance. So here's the register balance to 100,003. So once again, if you save either, if you want to save only one of these two reports, save the detailed report because it gives you what you need, which are really these items, the reconciling items. Let's go ahead and print this out. Notice it's a little bit different format to print them out. You got the little printer item up top. And since we have the Qt PDF printer, it'll make it easy for us to use that printing option, or you can choose the saving option here. So I'm going to go ahead and print it. I'm going to save this into our folder. I'm going to use the Qt PDF printer to practice doing that. So I like to go to this item. So we're going to go right here, and then I'm going to say print it. It's going to ask us where do we want to put it. I'm going to select the drop down. I'm going to go to the Get Great Guitars. I'm going to add another folder here. So let's add a new folder. And I'm going to call it Section 9. Section 9. Something happened here. Section 9. And this is going to be Bank Reconciliations. So there we have it, and then I'm going to go into that section, and then I'm going to call this, and again, if you might want to save it by date here. So if you're saving all your bank recs, like you might want the year first, and then the month, and then the day, so it'll organize itself, or you might want to save them by year in the same folder and whatnot. So I'm just going to put in bank reconciliation, let's just call it bank rec, and then I'll say 01/31/21. So again, if you're sorting these by date all in one huge folder, if you put the year first, and then the month, and then the day, then that's actually a nice sorting mechanism because the system will see it in order and start to organize it that way. But again, I'm going to put it this way. So we're going to say save, and then I'm going to save the summary report too. Let's save that one. So I'm going to go over here and just print them both out. We'll print this one out. And I'm going to say save on that. So let's print it. And so there we have it. And it's going to ask me where do I want to put it. And I'm going to say this is going to be the bank rec summary. This is going to be 01/31/21. And then we'll save that one. So there's an outline of those two reports. Next time we'll go into the second month bank reconciliation. And if you followed along with this first month and you're like, wow, that was painful to reconcile, it's not an easy task. Second month should be a whole lot easier. We'll go through it a whole lot faster.